Okay, welcome back to our cartoon portrait that we're making in Graphic Design 1. Up until this point, you've watched the first few videos, hopefully, first two videos, and now we're moving on to the next part. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take what we've done here and we're going to create some facial features. And now with facial features and with everything for this project, for that matter, there are infinite possibilities. So you can literally do whatever you want as long as it looks cool. But I'm going to just show you a few different methods of doing things. I'll show you how to do some eyelids, eyebrows, noses and mouths. I'll talk a little bit about facial expressions, and then you can kind of go from there, okay? So one thing that you should know before you start is, or that you should get in the habit of, here's like just like a drawing tip or just an art tip in general. Cartoonists are really, really good at this kind of stuff. It's useful if you look up, and I'll show you what I mean by this. If you look up, do a Google image search of this term here. It's called cartoon expressions. And the reason you want to do a Google search of cartoon expressions is because you can see what these cartoonists have done is they've very simply created exaggerated expressions by just like barely adjusting the use of lines, like in your eyebrows or your mouth or etc. or your eyelids. You can create any sort of expression that you want. So I want you to just keep that in mind. If you do a Google image search of cartoon expressions, you can take any of these sheets here and you can just use them as like a reference point. So you can kind of have an idea of where you want to go with whatever character you're attempting to make. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, having said that, let me jump on in here and show you what we're doing. So I'm going to zoom in briefly and we'll just walk through this. One quick way to make eyelids that I found is pretty useful. Actually, there's two. One way would be like this. If you were to click on your black arrow, select over your entire eyelid like this, or your eyeball, all the pieces, you can just simply take an eraser and erase out what you don't want, and then you've got kind of an eyelid. See that? So, like that. Depending on what you're trying to do, you can give it an eyelid. Whoa, that was weird, like that. There's a better way to do it, I found, or not a better, but just another way, and that's this. If you click on the white football shape of the eye, the cornea part, and only the cornea, you see that? What you're going to do is you're going to hold Alt and make a copy of it, like this. And then I want you to position it directly back on top of that eye. And we're going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So we brought that copy of the eye right on top, just like that. Okay. And now what we're going to do is this. We're going to go over here to our eyedropper tool. It looks like the little turkey baster on the side here, about 8 or 9 down on the left side. Click on that, and what this will do is whatever, if you have an item selected, any bit of your artwork that you've got, if you just touch it, it will change that selected item to that color. So see how I'm changing the colors? So what we want to do in this case is we want to make this bit here the same color as our skin tone. So just touch anywhere on your body like that. Then we'll make a copy of that and we'll bring it over like this. And now basically what we have here is we just have a skin colored ball sitting on top of our eyeball. You might remember, if I click on these items, I'm going to hold Shift, select both of them. If you use your eraser and you have an item selected, it will only erase from that selected item. So you can do this. If I erase across here, it will only erase out the part that I have selected if I've erased the eyebrows. Now this is a funny look. It kind of looks like shifty-eyed Stewie or something. But what you can do is this. You can erase out everything but the top sliver of that ball shape, and it'll create a pretty decent looking eyelid. See that? Just like that. So I'm just erasing it out. There you go. I've got eyelids. You can do any version of that. If you want to do them half squinty eyed like that, or you want to make it look like you just woke up or whatever, it's totally fine. But that's a nice little way to make eyelids. Now, a way to make eyebrows, there's tons of ways to make eyebrows, and eyebrows are incredibly expressive. So depending on how you have your eyebrows, it'll make you look angry or sad or whatever. One way to do that is to just take a rectangle, give it whatever color you want. You can just make rectangle eyebrows like this. No big deal. There's one. Hold Alt, copy it over, and then there's two. Look, if you raise one of them up and put one down, it looks like he's shifty-eyed, right? Or he's skeptical. If you angle them down like this, you can make your character look angry, right? Right, so then check this out. I'm gonna remove that one real quick. With the given item selected, as I zoom in briefly, you can do this. You can, with your white arrow, take your white arrow and you click on a corner, double click, you can shape this a little bit. So maybe you wanna make it look like that. You can click on these corners, and by clicking on these corners, you can give your rectangle a shape. Now, this is kind of a strange looking eyebrow, and that's totally fine. But that's not too bad. put it like that. You can also take your eraser, like we always do, and you can come in here and just erase out bits of it like that. You know, you can kind of shape it depending on what kind of weird eyebrow you're going for. That's one way to do it. Another way to do an eyebrow is like this. And I'll give that a different color, that strange color. There we go. That looks a little more eyebrowy. So that's just like a manipulated shape. Another thing you can do is this. We haven't really played much around with the paintbrush, but if you click on the paintbrush tool, you can literally just draw an eyebrow in like that. See that? So you can just draw depending on what you're looking for. And now that's okay. It's a decent eyebrow. I'm hitting Control Z every time here to change it up. That's a decent eyebrow, but what you want to do, what you might want to do is do this. If you select that paintbrush stroke, or you don't even actually have to do that. If you come over here to the right side of your screen here, you'll see that there is a little thing that says brushes. It looks like a little cup with paintbrushes in it. If you click on that, you'll notice there are some different ways to change the texture of the brush. So if I click on this charcoal feather one here, I go back to my brush, I can draw in that particular shape, that texture. You make your brush stroke a little bit thicker, and you draw in that texture. Look at that, it looks like an eyebrow. It's a little sloppy looking eyebrow, but it is an eyebrow. So check this out. Inside this brush palette, if you click on these little boxes, the brush library menu, you'll see that there's tons of different brush textures. One of them that you might want to use, if you go to artistic, chalk, charcoal, pencil right there, it'll give you a whole menu of different brush textures, and some of them look like eyebrows, like this one here, for instance. When I draw with this, oops, I have my stroke too high. Wrong way. When I draw with this, you'll see that it gives you kind of an eyebrow look. You see that? Depending on what you're looking for. And if you're looking for more of like a feminine, thin eyebrow, you can look down here and you can see many like that, or a more masculine looking, thicker eyebrow. So anyway, there's some different ways to make eyebrows. I kind of like that bushy one. I'm going to keep that. Keep that out. Boom. And then one thing to keep in mind, when you copy an eyebrow and you like flip it, when I go object, transform, reflect, it's not going to give you an exact match. Because of the texture of the eyebrow program, it might look a little bit weird. These kind of look like Cheetos. This is hilarious. All right, so there we go. I think I need to shrink these down a little bit. They're getting a little connected. There we go. That'll be better. Okay, so I'm just doing some positioning here. There we go. Looks like I got eyebrows. All right, now, eyebrows, eyelids, there's tons and tons of ways of doing all of these things. You can do it however you'd like. Now with noses, one thing I'd like you to keep in mind when you're doing your nose, and if you need to, since I was just paintbrushing with that texture, if I click on this thing at the top here, right next to the word that says uniform, it shows the texture of the brush I currently have selected. If you drop it down, go up to the top here, see these little circles? These are the very first one on the left will be like your basic brush. So just go ahead and select that. So it'll allow you to draw. Okay. When I'm doing noses, the way to do it is basically less is more when you're doing a nose. If you think about cartoon characters or anime or whatever, usually what it is, you don't draw in the whole nose. Whoopsie. Don't draw in the whole nose like this and the bottom and like that. Okay, that's not what we're going for. All we want to do is just kind of basically draw in the bottom. The way I used to teach this when I was teaching elementary school was this. You draw a little lowercase c, you can draw an extended U, and then another little lowercase c like that. All right, it's a basic nose look. It's totally fine. You can do that. That's the way I would recommend it. You could do like a longer nose, like that kind of nose as well. Just keep in mind, less is more. If you have a wider nose, you can just make the C a little bit bigger. You can make your nose a little bit bigger. If you want to give it like a big old nose like that, feel free. But just any basic little U here, you can just even leave it at that, quite honestly. The nose isn't very particularly expressive. It's not particularly important either. That's why a lot of times in anime, you'll just see like a little triangle shape like that. It's supposed to just give the impression that that bit of the skin is hanging out. Okay, so anyway, let me just draw a little nose in like that. There we go, looking good. Okay, for mouths, and again, you can do this however you want. I'm just giving some options. This is not, there's no expectation that yours looks exactly like mine. You do you, have fun with it. If you have a particular style and you want to do something completely different, feel free. For a nose, for a mouth, and you'll see this is where the expression really starts to change. So right now, this guy's got a bit of a casual, angry look to him. If you give him a big old smile like this, he's gonna look kind of creepy. If you give him a big frowny like this, he's gonna look pretty depressed. You could do like a straight across basic. Just by drawing in the line, you can change the way the guy looks. What if they got a mouth like that big? Pretty funny looking. All right, so you can play around with that, and Control Z is the way you can easily delete it out, or back it out. So if you're gonna just draw in with a paintbrush, you can do that. You can add a little bit of detail, depending on what you want, and there you go. That's one way to do it. A little bit boring, and I've got some other recommendations. So another way is this. You take your ellipse tool, that's the circle tool, and make it white. You can make an oval like this, right? And then with your eraser, you can come in with your eraser and just chop out a bit of it. And then look at that. You've got a little smiley face, right? Or you can turn it upside down and you got an angry teeth face. Similarly, if you have it like that, you can, as I zoom in, you can see that if I were to change the stroke color to like, I don't know, pink or something and make it much larger, you can give the impression that there's like lipstick or something in like a cute kind of cartoony way. I've got another way to do lips, and that's like this. If you take your ellipse tool again, take an ellipse tool, and for now we're just going to make a big old oval like that. Boom. And let's change it to red just to make it look like hyper feminine looking lips. Watch this. All right, here we go. So very similar to how we made the eye in the previous video. If you go to your white arrow and you double click on it, the anchor point on the side, you can go up here and you can click convert, and that'll convert that round anchor point to a point. Same over here, double click on that. Look where I'm at. I'll go up here to where it says convert. You can convert it. Now it's starting to look more like lips. Something you can do now is if I take my eraser, maybe shrink it up a little bit with the bracket keys. I can right it here, center it on the top, and when I click away, look at that. Now we're starting to get that sort of universal sign for kissy lips or whatever. All right, so from here, what you can do is you can change the color of your brush. Come in here with a thin brush. You can draw in like a separation between the lips, and then there you go. Lips on your character. There's another way to do this. Oh, and then also I should say, you can, after you've made this shape here, you can click on the corners with your white arrow. If I double click on this corner, I could like move this around. And I can move these handles and stuff and make it maybe look like a smirk or something. Like that. And then when I come in with my paintbrush again, change the color of that paintbrush, I can come in and, you can really, depending on the level of art that you want to go here, you can really draw in something, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there's a good one. Now let me show you another way, and then I'll let you go. This will be the end of this video. So I'm going to move him over there. Lips. Now check this out. Let's say you do want to make actual thick lips, but you don't want them to look super feminine like that. Well, you can just do this. You can just simply select a color. Usually people's lips are a shade of tan or peach or whatever, different from their skin, just ever so slightly. Sometimes there's a little pink in it, sometimes there's a little tan in it, whatever. You can just pick a shade of color that's similar. Oh, I'm changing the wrong thing, my bad. There we go. Excuse me, there you go. So you can pick a shade of color that's similar to your skin tone like that. Then you'll have to just look in the mirror if you're trying to make it look like you. See if your mouth looks, if your lips look a little darker, a little lighter, a little pinker, a little tanner, whatever. Then once you've done that, instead of going in with this white arrow and selecting stuff, if you just go in with your eraser, you can actually simply craft in exactly how you want your lips to look. Like you can just draw in lips, like a lip shape like that. And on the top here, we can just draw in a lip shape like that, depending on what your lips look like or how you want your mouth to look. You can just do it manually. And then, of course, just take your, I'll give it a little black outline here. There we go. And then with my paintbrush, I can come in and I can, paintbrush selected, I can come in and draw like a separation between the mouth, or whatever. Okay. So, any way you want to do it, that's the way to do it. I prefer it's totally mine, just for like the style I'm going for right here, is I prefer that very first thing that I showed you, and that was just this one here, where I drew a circle, give it a white fill, come in with my eraser, and then just erase out the smiley face. But again, it's just me playing around doing whatever I want. And then once you've got your basics in, what you can do is, from this point, any kind of level of detail would be totally fine. Like if you want to make it look like there's, I don't know, like scratch marks across your face, like you were attacked by a werewolf or something, or if you want to make half of your face look like all like squares and rectangles of gray colors, make it look like a cyborg, or give yourself a red eye, or maybe just give yourself like a face tat, like a Mike Tyson face tattoo. Don't do it so fast. I'm just trying to, the point is you can literally do whatever you want. I'm just showing you some basic ideas, and then I want you to take that and really run with it and have fun with it. Get a better grade if you add a little bit more detail, and if you make it look a little bit more unique. Okay, there's the basics on eyelids, eyebrows, noses, and mouths. In next class or next period, we are going to do hair. I'm going to show you guys how to do hair, and then from there I'll do the backgrounds, and we'll be done with this first large project in the class. So there it is. Good job. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.